what I thought I would do is I've been watching some of the YouTube videos of barn finds of like old motorcycles to get going, and I thought, you know, that's actually quite a good idea. It's I have one which is almost going, and I'll flip this around here. So in my stable, you can see I've got a lot of old, a lot of stuff up here. By the way, this is some people might be interested hanging out. This is a 1960 hand-built Flying Scot from Glasgow, complete with Campagnola gear. I got restored a few years ago. But anyway, paragliding gear and stuff. I already have a couple of motorcycles, so I'll take off the tilt to be point of view. There we go. So this one here is my Suzuki T500 two-stroke. I actually worked on that just over a year ago, about a year and 3 months ago, and completely rebuilt all the carburetors and rejetted them from scratch, which took some time, I can tell you. Fixed a bunch of leaks on it, created and actually made up a complete set of new pipes for the oil pump on that thing. Anyway, this thing runs a treat now. Got new radiators on it, did some reseat upholstery. I've left the paint as it is at the moment, but this thing runs fine. Then I have my new, this is the latest one, this is my Interceptor 650, and this is from September last year. And then I have my Raquel, as I call her, which I've ridden across the States in. This one here is my BMW K1200 RS from the year 2000. But if you see sitting there piled away in the corner, there's a motorcycle that's been sitting there for 17 years. I'd given it to my son as a project when he was like 15 years old to redo, and he stripped it all down, put it all back together, did some paintwork stuff on it, but we could never get it going. And I thought, you know, this is probably a good time to get that going. So I think today what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to get that bike out of here, readjust stuff, bring it out here, and I'm just going to go through. I've already like cleaned all the carburetor on that probably a good 5 years ago. Tried to get it going, couldn't, so it might need a bit of a touch up, but it should be in good nick. But I'm going to check all the electrics on it today with the spark and the ignition timing, etc., and just see if I can get it running. If I can get it just basically running today, I'll then start working on some of the other things I know is wrong with it, like the charging system's not working, so probably the rectifier I think might be out because it's we are getting headlights and all that. But anyway, that's the task for today, so stay tuned. Okay, so I just cleaned the stuff away. A bit gasping here. I just try to pump up the tyres and see if it actually takes some air, and yeah, the tyres actually took air. As you can see, this bike's actually in, it's all dusty, but it's actually pretty good nick, really. So the last time it was run on the road was, or taxed, there you go, it's 1999. So it's 21 years old. It's 1978, but the last time it ran was 21 years old. So yeah, this could be a good little. This could be another good little project, I think. So I'm going to move it across there, and then I'll start doing some checks and things. So let's get it across, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Yeah. So I suppose first things first is what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to check the actual year of this, make sure it's a 1975. The reason I was questioning that is that it's got a separate oil tank, which means it's got posi lube, where it mixes it getting into the carburetors. So it's actually really interesting. But yeah, Yamaha spark arrestor. There you go. So this is what we have here. So it's supposed to have 40,000 original miles on it. So I'm going to take a battery out, see if the battery will take a charge, and then see if we can start getting this little beast working. But that'll be actually pretty cool. If this can, we can get this going. It actually looks in pretty good nick, isn't it? Let's see what we can get done. Okay, first of all, I'm going to take the battery out here and take that out, get it charging, I think, today. It's actually got new, I forgot we put new cables on it, so I'm going to do a quick check. The carburetor is, I think, on this one. I don't want to take the whole box off yet, we'll see what happens, but I think in the first thing I'm just going to get the multimeter out and just start checking a few things. Oil, I'm going to check the oil. I mean, I think this should be actually fine with the oil in it, and I'm pretty sure the battery I'd replaced not that too long ago. So let's get started. Okay, so a little more about this actually. I just actually looked up the model number. So this is a 2A70125551, and that means that this is a 1978 DT175E, and accordingly it does not have points. I'm glad to say it actually has a CDI magneto, and it does have an oil pump fed here too, so it is a like the equivalent of Suzuki's Posilib. So this should actually be all freaking, this should be cool. So I actually might be, you can see the chain's actually still pretty oiled from when I did it last. That's impressive. Anyway, yeah, when I had this out last time, I'd like, you can see I'd sprayed it with oil to stop it rusting and things, so that's actually held up pretty good. I don't know if I've got a slow flat, actually, that was pumped up earlier. Anyway, so yeah, let me get the battery out and start mucking around here. Yeah, well, I haven't touched this thing in about 5 years, but I'm just taking the battery out here, but you can see actually it's a new battery and it still has actually fluid in it, so I'm going to give that a charge up. I can see the earth cable here is a bit naff, so I'll probably have to redo that. But yeah, let me get that charged up while I start to look at the other stuff. So yeah, so I've taken the battery out. The battery's actually, it's 7 years old, the battery, so that's pretty new, and I thought some acid, so I still have some acid here. Let's see, I've just topped up. The cells were actually dry in here, so it's actually 6 volts. So I'm going to put it into 6 volts and charge it up, and we'll see if it's, it may be knackered. It says it's full already, so it may not take a charge. So I might have to go get a new battery. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, normally if these things, if it says it's full, should go and get my multimeter, I guess. If it says it's full, it normally means it's not charged. Anyway, I should go and actually double check that. So I'll go and get a multimeter. So I've taken the seat of the tank off, and I've just been with the multimeter. I've just been checking things here. The earth cable came off the battery. The batteries are charging over there, but it's I don't think it's actually taking a charge. I think it, oh, hold on. Oh, actually it might be charging. We had that going. So what I've done is I've checked the primary ignition sides. So I've checked that the coil's actually working up here. Magneto's actually working. I'm getting a spark here now. What I've found here with the oil is down at the bottom here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually, it broke off. The connector there is broke off in there, so that's where the oil's been leaking. So I'll have to put a little 2-stroke mixture in here. But while the battery's charging, what I think I might do is, since this is generating its own spark, it might actually start up without a, a battery. I'm not touching the carburetor at the moment. I'm going to do that in a minute, but I thought since this has been cleaned and there's been no petrol in it or anything, this actually might be okay. So I'm going to actually just get some 2-stroke mixture here, and I'll use from a tractor, and I'm going to stick this in here and we'll see what happens. Well, here's a little update. I thought I might have been able to get this going this afternoon, but I haven't been successful. I've checked the ignition coil using the multimeter and looking at the resistance, etc. That was fine. I checked the cap was fine. I checked the spark, it's okay. The battery's charging, but luckily on these bikes the magneto actually generates the power, so you can actually get a spark with this not working. I actually used the drill here to turn over the bike, and I was getting it fine. I actually put in some carburetor cleaner in there, and I had the ignition switch on and turned it over. I did get a bang coming out, so I know the spark was working. But I actually dropped in some fuel, and then I put in a little fuel tank into the carburetor, but that never kicked over, so it hasn't started. I've been trying a lot. So what I've done now is I've actually just taken off the carburetor, and I'm going to double check. So this actually is the this here is a power reed valve, and it actually looks okay. We should check the spacing between the reeds are okay, and then these two plates, they open and close based on the pressure in the crankcase to let the fuel air mixture in. I'm suspecting here the problem we've got is actually it's low compression and it's not actually sucking in fuel. It's what my guess is here. So I'm going to have to go and do that. But anyway, while I was here I just thought, well, I may as well take the carburetor off. I'm just going to go down and get a bath and I'll just clean this up. This actually, I'd cleaned this about 5 years ago, and it's never been what do you call it, started the bike. So I think this should be actually fine. But I'd actually got a repair kit for this in the past and tried to get it working, and that I've been unsuccessful with, but still unsuccessful. So anyway, I know I need to fix this. The biggest thing is this oil tank needs to, I said, it's broken off in there. This is a little neutral switch part which is broken off, but the actual carburetor itself actually looks fine. I just dropped the needle, it doesn't help too much. It seemed to be okay, but I'm going to go down and get some gunk and put this in the bath overnight, and then I'm going to think about this, and I'm going to see if I can find out of a way I can get an old spark plug and make a compression tester over to see what this is. Put my hand over here. I was expecting it to feel more of a suck coming in, but I can feel more of a blow instead of a suck. I was expecting this to actually, because it has to suck in the air obviously in the fuel air mixture, but just turning this over with my hand there, I couldn't feel any vacuum at all. I've seen that also earlier. I thought it didn't start because there was a blockage in the exhaust, but I took the exhaust out and sure enough, and actually put the carburetor cleaner in here and turned it over, and it went bang. I could see the flame shooting out. So yeah, so at least I know this is working fine, the spark plug. But anyway, that's where we are today, so I think I'm going to call it a day here. I'm going to go down and get a bath, a gunk carburetor cleaner if they have it here, and soak this overnight. See if that battery actually takes a charge. If not, I'll have to buy a new battery as well. But anyway, there we go so far. Okay, so I've got the carburetor here dismantled. I can see these parts are still actually new. They look actually pretty clean actually as it happens. It's a bit manky in here a little bit, so gasket's still perfectly fine. So I actually just bought a tin of this Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner, and you stick it in here for like 15 minutes, 30 minutes or longer. I'll keep it in there for an hour and take out, rinse it off with water. We should have a complete new carburetor part. While I'm doing that, I'll then figure out how to check the compression on this sucker, and do a little bit more reading on that one. Okay, that's probably a good day's work.